All right, review 6 here. Which pair of angles are coterminal with 210? All right, so remember coterminal, you just add or subtract 360. So we're going to go ahead and we know it's going to be choice 1 here, because if you're going to take away 360, you will get 150. And if you add 360, to that, you are going to get 570, and then add another 360 and you will get 930. Okay, so it is going to be negative 150 and 930. Again, you just keep adding or subtracting 360, you will get coterminal angles. The sine is greater than 0, cotangent is less than 0. Okay, so remember, ASTC, where is the sine greater than 0? Sine is greater than 0 right here. Okay, those quadrants there. And then the cotangent follows the tangent. So the tangent is less than 0. Where is the tangent negative? Well, tangent's positive here. It's negative in these quadrants right here. So quadrant 2 is the one where sine is positive and tangent is negative. When 260 is expressed in radian measure, what do? Well, you go 260 and then you go pi over 180, and then you're just going to reduce 260 over 180, and you're going to get 13 pi over 9. To the nearest degree, 2.39 radians is equivalent to what? So that's, you take your radian measure, you multiply by 180, and then you divide by pi. Okay, and that's going to give you 137. I worked these out ahead of time, just save you guys time there, just to make sure, just want to make sure you get the right answers. You should be able to do these by now. Which represents the point of intersection between the unit circle and the terminal side of a 300-degree angle? You're just going to go to your unit circle. You're going to go to your unit circle and you're going to look for 300. Now, let's do it a different way. 300. What's the reference angle for 300? Well, just do 360 minus 300. So we know it's 60. Remember QRS. Okay, so what's the quadrant? The quadrant is quadrant 4, and the reference angle is 60. And so we're going to do, the point is going to be cosine. Remember, it goes cosine sine. Cosine 60, sine 60. Okay, so 60 degrees has a sine of radical 3 over 2 and a cosine of 1/2, so it's going to be a half radical 3 over 2. So I know it's not that one, I know it's not that one. It's one of these, and we are in quadrant 4, and it's going to be positive negative in quadrant 4. So number 5 is A. Again, you can get that right from your unit circle. The terminal side of theta in standard position is intersecting at negative radical 3 over 2, negative 1/2. So see how it's negative, negative. I know it's going to be a third quadrant angle. They want us to find the cotangent. Well, cotangent is cosine over sine. Cosine over sine. So I'm going to do cosine, which is this, negative radical 3 over 2 over negative 1/2. All right, and then of course this means divided by, so it's, I'm going to move down here. No, I'm going to go over here. So now it's going to be negative radical 3 over 2. Keep, change, flip. We're going to change that to multiplication, and then we're going to flip this, negative 2 over 1. My 2's cancel out. This becomes negative 1. Negative radical 3 times negative 1 is just positive radical 3. So you should get positive radical 3 for that one. Find the exact value of tan 60 to cos 30. Tan 60 you're supposed to know is radical 3. Put that over 1. Cosine 30 is radical 3 over 2. So it's 2 times radical 3 over 2. Cosine 30 is radical 3 over 2, and then times 2. Now, the 2 is reduced to 1, and we're left with radical 3 plus radical 3, which is 2 radical 3. There are 2 radical 3's, okay? If anything on that page was not clear, go back and watch it again. Try to catch the explanation a little bit better next time. All right, so we know our i's. We should know our i's. I to the 5th is a remainder of 1, so that's going to be the same as I to the 1st. This will be the same as I to the 1st, remainder of 1. This is going to be a remainder of 3, so it'll be the same as I to the 3rd. That's a remainder of 1, so it's going to be a remainder I to the 1st. And 11 divided by 4, remainder is 3. So I have I to the first minus I to the third plus I to the first minus I to the third. I to the first is just I. I to the third is negative I. Negative, negative I. This is negative, negative I. That's plus I. This is just I. And again, I have negative, negative I is I. So I have I plus I plus I plus I, and that is 4I. So this one comes out to be 4I. We have a trig proof here. Trig proof you're going to have to be able to do on your quiz. All right. Cotangent is cosine over sine. And tangent, remember we work with one side and we got to try to leave this side alone. Leave that alone and work with this side only. Work with one side only. So it's cosine over sine, and then tangent is sine over cosine. Let's do that first, then we'll do plus 1. Okay, we'll just carry down plus 1 for now. Now, cosine over sine divided by sine over cosine. Let's do that over here. Cosine over, I'm going to get rid of the thetas just to make it easier. So it's cosine over sine times, remember keep change flip, times cosine over sine plus 1. So that's going to be cosine squared over sine squared plus 1. All right, so now it's 1 over 1. Now we need a common denominator. So we're going to go times sine squared times sine squared. So now I'm going to combine my fractions because I have a common denominator. So I'm going to combine these now. Combine all this. The top is cosine squared plus sine squared over the common denominator of sine squared equals cosecant squared. Just carrying that down all the way. Just carrying that cosecant squared down. We haven't touched that. We're still working with this side. Now, look, I have cosine squared plus sine squared. You have to know that identity. Cosine squared plus sine squared is 1. We should know that by now. So I'm going to replace this. I'm taking this out and I'm replacing it with a 1. 1 over sine squared equals cosecant squared. And guess what 1 over sine squared is? That is cosecant squared. 1 over sine squared is cosecant squared. There it is. Cosecant squared equals cosecant squared. Given the system of equations, find the value of x. Okay, so the way this is set up, again, there are a million different ways to do it. You may have done it differently, but this one's pretty straightforward. I got negative y, positive y, negative y. I wouldn't do any multiplying. You don't need to. If you combine these guys, you get, right, combine these two equations, you get 1x. Okay, you get x, and then that drops out, and you get 3z, and you get 18. Now, combine these. Okay, so I got 2x. That drops out. 3z, and that's 21. Now, I need x or z to drop out. 3z's won't drop out. That's 6z. But if I multiply by negative 1, if I go negative, 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 that's basically multiplying by negative 1, I can now add, and I get x, boom, equals 3. So I get x equals 3. I'm going to take that one right there. 2x plus 3z equals 21. Positive 21, not negative 21. Okay, and then x is 3. 2 times 3 plus 3z equals 21. 6 plus 3z equals 21. Subtract 6, 3z equals 15. So z equals 5. Z equals 5, x equals 3, and you plug those into the original something. Why don't I plug them into this guy right here? That one's got just nothing to multiply. It's easier. You can plug it into any one you want. So if we plug it into there, we got negative x, so negative 3 plus y plus z plus 5 equals 3. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2, so y plus 2 equals 3. subtract 2, y equals 1. So I have, my final answer is going to be 3, 1, 5. 3, 1, 5 would be the final answer there. All right, number 11. Terminal side of angle passes through the point negative 5, 2. Where's negative 5, 2? Negative 5, 2 is right here. Okay, I'm going to make my reference triangles. I'm going to go straight down. There's my right angle there. And this is kind of small. I'm going to make it, so I know it's, I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. Boom. I know that's not exactly, but we know it's in quadrant 2. That's all that really matters. It goes negative 5, and then it goes up 2. I know it doesn't look right, but I just want to make it a little bit bigger. Negative 5, 2. All right, so Pythagorean Theorem, 2 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 4 and 25 is 29 equals c squared. Square root, square root. Okay, so c is the square root of 29. That's my hypotenuse there. Here's my reference angle that we're going to use as a theta. Okay, sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. That's 2 over the square root of 29. And of course, we need to rationalize that, multiply by radical 29 over radical 29, and you get 2 radical 29 over 29. Okay, we've done this a million times. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, negative 5 over radical 29. So that's going to be negative 5 radical 29 over 29. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent, 2 over negative 5. 2 over negative 5, and that's negative 2/5. That's going to be negative 2/5. All right, so we found our sine, cosine, and tangent there. If tangent is negative 5 over 3 and theta terminates in quadrant 2, find all remaining trig functions. Let's do that. So let's draw a picture. We're in quadrant 2. So again, a quadrant 2 reference triangle. The tangent is negative 5/3. That's opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. 5 over 3 is opposite over adjacent. Now, the 3's got to be the negative one because it's going to the left. The 5's got to be positive. 5 over negative 3 is negative 5/3. So you just got to make sure the right one is negative. If you're going to the left, it's negative. Up is positive. All right, so now we could find everything else. We need Pythagorean Theorem again. So 3 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 9 plus 25. 34 is c squared. So the square root of 34, the square root of 34 is going to be our hypotenuse. All right, so find everything else. All right, so now the sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, 5 over radical 34. And I'm going to skip the rationalizing part because we've done this so many times, guys. Look it up in your notes if you don't know how to do it. You multiply by radical 34 over radical 34. That's going to come out to be 5 radical 34 over 34. The cosine is negative 3 over radical 34. So that's going to be negative 3 radical 34 over 34. The tangent we already got, so I don't need that one. The cotangent is just flipping the tangent, so that's easy. That's negative 3/5. The secant is the flip of the cosine, so I flip that. Negative radical 34 over 3. And my cosecant is the flip of the sine. Flip this, radical 34 over 5. Okay? Now, you could have flipped this, but why do that? Then you're going to have to rationalize it. It just makes a lot of work. You want to flip the original one because then the radical goes on top and you're done. Okay? Long division. Oh, wow. It's been a while, huh? Long division. All right, so remember, subtract the degrees. 4 minus 2. Subtract the degrees, that's 2, and then add 1. So that's 3. You're going to need a 3 by 3. This is a 3 because it's x squared. You got to put the x in. All right, it's going to be a 3 by 3. Oh, we're doing long division. What am I doing? We're doing long division. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to put 0x squared, or 0x minus 3. We are doing long division. X to the 4th plus 3x to the 3rd minus 8x squared minus 9x plus 15. X squared goes into x to the fourth. X squared times gives me x. You multiply this times all of these. Got to multiply the x squared times all of these. It's going to be x to the fourth, 0x to the third, and then minus 3x squared. And then change the signs. I get, boom, I get 3x to the third. I get negative 5x squared. And I bring down negative 9x. X squared goes into 3x to the third 3x times. I multiply 3x times all of this. It's going to give me 3x to the third plus 0x squared minus 9x. But then I have to change my signs. Boom, boom, boom. So that's 0. I get 5x squared plus 0x. Bring down 15. X squared goes into 5x squared 5 times. So I'm going to get 5x squared plus 0x minus 15. And that's boom, boom, boom. And that's 30. Okay, so I do get a remainder of... Oh, wait, did I mess up? I might have messed up. Yes, I did. This is negative 5x squared. Sorry. Negative 5x squared makes this a negative 5. Sorry about that. Negative 5, so it's negative 5x squared. This is going to be plus 15, and then it becomes negative 15, and the remainder is 0. Sorry about that, guys. So it's x squared plus 3x minus 5. Hopefully you caught that before I did. All right. Unit circle. I'm not going to do this on video because you have the unit circle. All I'm going to tell you, I'm going to zoom this out real quick. Zoom out. Okay. All I'm going to tell you is, and you really should be trying to do this without looking. If you looked it up, you're not going to be able to do it on the quiz. You've got to be able to do it without looking it up. All right. So you know all your angles are. Remember, as long as you know sine 30 is a half, you should be able to do the rest, because start with that, right? This is, now the sine is the y value, so that's going to be a half. Once you know that's a half, you should know that that's radical 3 over 2. You know these are radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. That's memorization. Okay? This one is the opposite of this one. So it's 1/2 radical 3 over 2. Remember, this is obviously 1, 0. And this is 0, 1. We've done this over and over again. This quadrant is a reflection over the y-axis. Reflection over the y-axis of this. Just reflect it all over. Change the sign of x because you're reflecting over the y-axis. So change the sign of x. That's all you do. Then when you get that, reflect it down. It'll be negative, negative, negative down here. This is going to be negative, positive. This is going to be positive, negative. So it's just reflections. All right. Once you get that, you'd be able to answer all of these. Okay. You should know those. I'll give you these answers just to make just so you could check yourself. Got them ahead of time here. This is going to be negative radical 3 over 2. This one's negative radical 2 over 2. This one's radical 3. This one. Now this one here I will do with you here. Secant 90 is, and I'll extend the page to move it up a little bit. Secant 90 is the reciprocal of cosine 90. Secant's the reciprocal of cosine. So if you get cos 90 first, cos 90 is cos 90 is 0. Cos 90 is 0. Okay, so if you 0 over 1, right? So if you flip that, you get the secant of 90. The secant of 90 is the reciprocal of 0 over 1, which is 1 over 0. 1 over 0 is undefined. So the answer for secant 90 is undefined, okay? And then the cosecant of 35, the reciprocal of cosecant is sine. So we want sine 135, and that's from the unit circle, is radical 2 over 2. Okay? So the sine of 135 is radical 2 over 2. the cosecant, I'm just going to go over here, okay? The cosecant of 135 is going to be the reciprocal of the sine of 135. So do 2 over radical 2, but then you can't leave that as a final answer, so you multiply by radical 2 over radical 2, and that gives you 2 radical 2 over 2, okay, and then 2 over 2 is just 1, so you're left with radical 2. So the cosecant of 135 is just radical 2. Again, take the sine of 135 and flip it. That's all you got to do, and then rationalize it. You can't leave a radical in the denominator, okay? So hopefully you got something out of this, and I will see you for the quiz tomorrow.